Good morning, everyone. I'm Bridget Richardson with the Nesty Center for Faith and Culture, and I'm here with Mari Salazar. She is the Senior Vice President at BOK Financial Energy Financial Services in Houston and University of St. Thomas Alumni Board Member. So thank you so much, Mari, for joining me.
You're welcome. It's great to be here.
Yeah, and so this morning we're just going to talk about COVID-19, how it's been affecting not only your work life, but also your family life. So maybe you can start with just telling us a little bit about what you do and how the pandemic has affected that.
Sure. I manage the oil and gas group for BOK Financial. I've been there now 17 years. So this is, I thought I had seen it all in my 20-something years in energy banking, and then this happened. So, I think like all managers, you try to prep as best you can for any situation. And this is just sort of elevated, right? We always, as an institution, are always running kind of contingency plans, and usually it's around hurricanes. But so this just got escalated a little bit more.
Okay, so what types of things have you had to like kind of, do some adjusting?
Yeah. So, when you have an entire group that now has to work from home, you quickly realize that you have some group members that don't have laptops and some that do. And so you quickly had to pull resources and make sure everybody had a laptop, everybody could connect. And that was something I think our organization as a whole had to really understand, that the bandwidth of everybody having to connect remotely is just a feat in and of itself. But really, our group really functions as a team. We have a lot of support people. We talk all day long. And so having to now work on things from home without seeing each other, it really required, I think, a little bit more planning. You have to schedule meetings now on my calendar, because whereas you could just sort of poke your head into my office and go, oh, she's available, she's not on the phone. Now you have to like make sure to send me a calendar invite, and set up a meeting. We're all learning WebEx, we're all learning Zoom. And certainly it's been interesting from a work production, but also, there's the element of these are real people, right? This is your staff. So keeping people engaged, making sure they're okay. Any number of things can worry people. They can worry about their jobs. They can worry about, some of my analysts live alone. Some of them have pets and they're very happy about that. Some of them have spouses that also, one sent me a picture of him and his fiance, it's a small kitchen table and they're back to back to each other, and they're having to realize, oh, I probably need to order some headsets. So, as a manager, you're just constantly checking in with your people. And one, how is your equipment doing? How are you doing on certain tasks and, things and meeting deadlines, but also how are you doing personally, and how are you coping with this personally? The difficulty I think right now is there is no, okay, I'm done for the day, I'm packing up and I'm walking out the door, and you leave sort of work behind. Work is here now, right? It doesn't leave people's kitchen tables. It doesn't, because the laptop is set up there. And so there's an element that I've had to sort of work with different employees to say, it's okay to step away and go for a walk, or go for a run, or, whatever it is that you need to do. I only have one employee that has someone that's currently in school. She's a high school student, but, there's certainly challenges for that. I can't schedule an 8:00 meeting if she's trying to help her daughter get online. So I've moved meetings down a little bit, and same thing for me. I find that I'm working much, much later. So maybe I don't want to get up as early to get on a call. So those are just some of the obstacles.
Well, I think it's great that you're able to see where people are at and what their needs are and what your own needs are and adjust your workflow to those needs instead of kind of doing the opposite, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think what I've learned over my years of just managing people is you have to be focused on really the finish line and the outcome is what is it that you're trying to achieve? And as long as those things are being met, those deadlines are being met, things are functioning, it doesn't matter really how it's made, right? If someone needs to, take a break in the middle of the day, if someone does yoga in the middle of the day, or whatever it is, that's how they're coping, and that's okay as long as we're meeting deadlines. Some people are morning people, some people are do better at night. So just being flexible to how people are just operating in this environment.
Yeah, so what exactly is energy banking for those of us who don't quite know what that is?
Oh, it's so glamorous these days.
Tell me more.
It's like being Indiana Jones. No, basically, I lend money to oil and gas companies to either make an acquisition of another company or make a property acquisition or to develop their existing property set or just really as a working capital line. Think of it as a really, really large credit card, right? And so that allows them to do any number of things. And so behind that is a banker that lends them money based on the volumes that a petroleum engineer determines that they have and the cash flow that is being thrown off by those volumes. See, I told you it was.
Yeah. It seems like, especially during COVID-19, your workflow would go up, right?
So yes, it goes up for a number of reasons. So one, it's checking with all your clients. But as you can imagine, the thing that I've loved about oil and gas is it's really Econ 101 at its core. Basic supply and demand. If there is no demand, then supply, and there's a lot of supply, the price is going to go way down. So you can imagine what happens when the entire world decides to stop driving around and stop really using energy. And so, you've already seen just prices being suppressed because of the issues between Saudi and the Russians. That was one issue. It just got compounded with the COVID. And so you're checking in with clients to see how are they doing, what's their plan for 2020, but also what's their COVID plan for 2020? How are you dealing with your employees and what is your strategy for working from home, right? So I think all those things just really keep you really, really busy. And on top of that, certainly the economic downturn, our bank does the PPP program, which is something that we've been really involved with. It's a really short time frame. And so, getting in there, helping people try to process those applications. And with each one of those applications, what I've told my underwriters and my officers is think about the people whose jobs we're trying to save. So that involved working late, working on weekends, whatever it took to get as many of those applications processed. So it's really sort of ramped up the workload, not sort of, I think people think, oh, you're going to work from home, you're going to be bored. I'm like, I have yet to be bored.
And I think that's a really good awareness because I kind of feel the same. I feel like sometimes, oh, and we lost her. Hang on, she'll come back. Mari, I completely agree about people sometimes end up working more from home just because you and I had talked a little bit about like everything is right there. So how are you managing that for yourself when everything is just right in front of you?
Yeah, so I've had to learn that too, right? As much as I've been such an advocate for my employees to take those breaks, I'm having to do that for myself as well. At the beginning, it just seemed like it was nonstop. And then I sort of took a pause and said, maybe I should listen to my own advice. So for me, I really try to, I'm fortunate that I had a physical office in my home. So originally I was set up, in my living room, because it was comfortable, and I thought that was great. And I found that that was actually a much bigger issue for me, is that I couldn't walk away from it. So I decided, hey, you actually have an office. Why don't you use it? And it helps me sort of say, when I leave this office, then I leave the office stuff behind, at least for an hour or 2 hours. So I try to work out. I've definitely embraced meditation, which is really, really good. And really just take a break for lunch, like actually sit for lunch, and have lunch with my sister, and really just take things a little bit at a time, knowing that the work is not going to go away. It's still going to be there. So go ahead and just take that mental break or that physical break.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned your sister, because Carla with the UST Alumni Association, she had mentioned that you're very family oriented, and this has been an adjustment for you because, you're a really tight-knit family. So what has that been like?
So it's been interesting. So we're a really tight-knit family. We've gotten creative. We have funny, text streams going all the time, which has been really interesting because, there's a lot of people on it. And it could be really quiet until someone sends out a joke or a meme or something. And then it just gets out of control.
How many people are on it, would you say?
Well, so I would say there's probably about 15 or 16 people on it. And that's just kind of, none of the younger people in our family, but just all the kind of older people in our family. And like I said, it doesn't take much. There's social media. We do a lot through that, and just trying to keep up with everybody. We call each other. At Easter, a lot of my nieces and nephews came into my very quiet suburban neighborhood and did a little parade with, banners and signs and screaming and honking, which is fantastic. I loved it. But, it's odd because you see them, and, we're a Hispanic family, and we're very touchy-feely, and, we get hugs, right? We hug people. And so knowing that that was as close as you could get to your family and you couldn't just hug them, it was a little odd, but we made it work, and we know the sentiment is there, and we could see each other, and we're thankful that we're healthy, and we sort of know we'll get back to a place of normality, and this is just sort of the way it is today.
Yeah, and how have you stayed, you mentioned trying out meditation. How have you tried to stay grounded in Christ, grounded in the Spirit throughout this experience? And I want to hear about your meditative experience if you're not used to that.
For me, prayer has always been important to me. It's just natural. It does ground me in so many ways. And I think for me, praying for others helps me. It keeps me from thinking about, oh, I'm stuck in the house. Well, rather than focus on myself, let's think about others. Let's pray for others. So, if I know I've had friends that are, doctors, nurses, I pray for them. I pray for, friends who I know have parents that are elderly. I pray for my family. I have this great little bowl, and it's a prayer bowl, and you can write someone's name and you can place them in the bowl. And so as someone like in my running group posts, hey, my mom's not doing well, I'll ask them what is her name, and I'll write their name down, and I'll put them in a prayer bowl, and I include them. And so for me, that's helped me cope. And so the second part that I sort of recently tried is meditation, is just being still. I'm high energy. I'm go, go, go. I'm a runner. I'm committed to all kinds of things normally. And so the idea of sitting still and just listening to your own breath, to your own heart, letting go of just outside things and just focusing on the moment. Yeah, that's really made a difference, in that, things continue to move around you, but let's take a moment to just pause and really appreciate what you like about today, what you are doing in that moment. And it's just a good time for self-reflection, I think.
And what made you try that for the first time?
So I'm very high energy, and I have normally, I run marathons, ultra marathons, you name it. And so my relief has always been go do something, right? Go do something physical, go run, go do something. And, as many times as I would get on my Peloton bike, it just didn't seem to be cutting it. And I go, well, if doing all this stuff is not completely helping, maybe going the opposite way and learning to sit still. And I think that's really helped, in that you just learn to let go of things. And really, at the end of the day, you kind of go, I'm just going to give it to God, and things will be okay. And I'm just going to focus on today and what I can do today and how I can help someone today. And, that's really, at the end of the day, what's helped me cope just in general with this craziness that's going around us.
Yeah. And just to kind of tie it all together, how do you think that type of mindset could change our culture? Because especially with oil and gas, where people sometimes may be a little bit more anxious about what's going on, how do you think maybe finding that time of stillness and going from doing to quiet and silence, how do you think that could even change our culture in general?
I think our culture is very much, moving at a fast pace. Obviously, we have this great technology. Again, I have an office full of gadgets, and it does allow us to do more. There used to be a time where if you went on vacation, no one could reach you because you didn't have cell phones. Well, now you're connected 24/7, right? And I've got 2 phones. So I think this sort of just takes us back to our roots. And, I think a lot of fear comes from not feeling in control. And so I think sometimes reflecting and taking a moment to stand still, to say, it's okay that you're not in control, and work and focus on those things you can control. What can you do right now? What change can you make for yourself? Or more importantly, what's helped me, what change can I do for someone else? What can I be doing from someone else? I've sent masks to friends. I've, dropped a card to someone. I've sent meals. I've sent cookies to all of my staff, or meals or lunch that just show up at their door. Same thing with friends. You really just find a way to go, what can I do for someone else? Because if I'm feeling like this, maybe they are. And I would hope someone maybe would do that for me. So why don't we just do that for someone else, right? So instead of focusing internally, I've tried to focus externally. And I think this has really caused us to maybe, as a total shift in our society, maybe start thinking, hey, let's, technology, all these apps, computers, everything is great, and it does make us efficient. But let's also think about, hey, that app on your phone can also help you to send tip treats to somebody, or it can help you donate to an organization that means a lot to you. I love Amazon, and it's a great way. I sent care packages because I'm like, I can't leave, but I can send you a care package via Amazon, right? And so I think melding some of the things that are good about society today with maybe those old school ways of being a good neighbor, I think that's what we can take from this, is maybe just slow down a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful way of putting it, to kind of meld those two things together. I don't think I've heard anyone say it quite in the way that you said it, in terms of taking what's so good about our technology and what's created, but also harkening back to, traditional ways of doing things, sending things to people. So that's beautiful. And thank you so much, Mari, for joining us today. I really appreciate it very much.
Yeah, thank you for reaching out. St. Thomas has been an amazing organization, or amazing part of my life since, when I graduated. For me, it was like coming into a small family, a small community. I came from a very small town. And so when I stepped onto the UST campus way back in the day, it felt like home. And so for me, anytime I can do something for UST, for the students, for the faculty, or for the entire UST community as a whole, I'm an absolute yes. I think Carla knows that. It's because St. Thomas holds a special place in my heart. It gave a lot to me, someone who was just very quiet, very shy. And it really my best friends are all from St. Thomas years. And I love going back and doing Christmas in the mansion and just all the different activities that they have. And now I love doing that with my friends of 20 plus years, right? And so it's a special place, and I'm glad I can help.
Well, I hate to speak for the whole community, but I'm really happy that someone like you is leading the organization that you are leading, because it's the way that you manage people and the way that you talk about your staff is so beautiful and so personable. So thank you again for joining me for this conversation. And I can't wait for your peers to see this as well.
Well, thank you very much. And hopefully you're staying safe and sane out there.
So far, so good. All right. Thank you, Mari.
Bye.